Good morning, dear students. Welcome to Jatin Academy. Today in this class we will start important questions from chapter 4 of geography, that is agriculture. So let's get started. Question 1: What is the importance of agriculture in Indian economy? Answer: 1. India is an agricultural country. 2. Nearly two-thirds of its population depends directly on agriculture for its livelihood. 3. Agriculture is the mainstay of India's economy. 4. It accounts for 26% of the gross domestic product. 5. It ensures food security for the country and produces several raw materials for industries. 6. Agricultural development is therefore a precondition of our national prosperity. Question: to name 3 features of Indian agriculture. Answer: 1. Farmers own small piece of land and grow crops primarily for their own consumption. 2. Animals play a significant role in the various kinds of agricultural activities. 3. Farmers depend mainly upon monsoon rains. Question 3: What is plantation agriculture? Answer: 1. Plantation farming is bush or tree farming. 2. The British introduced it in the 19th century. 3. It is a single crop farming of rubber, tea, coffee, cocoa, spices, coconut and fruits like apples, grapes, oranges, etc. 4. It is capital intensive and demands good managerial ability, technical know-how, sophisticated machinery, fertilizers, irrigation and transport facilities. 5. Some of the plantations like tea, coffee, rubber have a processing factory within the farm itself or close to it. 6. This type of agriculture has developed in hilly areas of northeastern India, sub-Himalayan, West Bengal and in Nilgiri, Anamlai and Cardamom hills in peninsular India. Question 4: Name 3 important wheat-producing states of India. Answer: the main wheat-producing states are UP, Haryana, Bihar and Punjab. Question 5: Name 3 sugarcane-producing states of the country. Answer: the major sugarcane-producing states are Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh. Question 6: Mention 3 spice-producing states of India. Answer: spice-producing areas in India are Kerala, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. Question 7: Name 3 tobacco-producing states of India. Answer: tobacco-producing states are Gujarat, Uttar Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh and Karnataka. Question 8: Distinguish between Rabi and Kharif crops. Answer: Rabi and Kharif crops. Kharif: 1. Cultivation begins with the onset of monsoons in May. 2. Sowing of seeds is done in June or early July. 3. Crops are harvested in September-October. 4. Crops depend on the monsoons. 5. Types: rice, millets, maize, groundnuts, jute, cotton and various pulses. Rabi: 1. Cultivation begins with the withdrawal of monsoons in October. 2. Sowing of seeds is done in October-November. 3. Crops are harvested in April-May. 4. Crops depend on the subsoil moisture. 5. Types: wheat, gram and all seeds like mustard and rape seeds. Question 9: Distinguish between dry and wet agriculture. Answer: dry and wet agriculture. 1. Dry agriculture. Dry farming is a type of farming in which moisture is maintained by raising special type of crops. Crops such as gram and peas are grown. There is vast dependence on irrigation. This is practiced in dry areas of the country. 2. Wet agriculture. Wet farming is a type of farming which depends mainly upon rains. In this type of farming, rice, jute and maize are grown. There is no irrigation required. This type of farming is done in northeastern parts of India. Question 10: Distinguish between tea and coffee cultivation. For tea, it requires warm and moist free climate. The British introduced it. It requires 20 to 30 degrees Celsius temperatures. It requires 300 centimeters rainfall. It is grown in Assam, West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, and Kerala. For coffee, it requires hot and humid climate. The Arabic variety was brought from Yemen. It requires 15 to 28 degrees Celsius temperature. It requires 200 centimeters rainfall. It is grown on hills around Nilgiris, Karnataka, Kerala, and Tamil Nadu. Question 11. Describe various technological and institutional reforms which led to green and white revolutions in India. Answer. The various technological and institutional reforms consist of various measures taken by the central and state governments from time to time. Flooding of fields with water is now being replaced by drip irrigation and the use of sprinklers. Chemical fertilizers are being used on a large scale to increase the farm yields. Biofertilizers are now supplementing them. High-yielding and early maturing quality seeds have been developed. Most of these technology inputs gave birth to green revolution in 60s and 70s of 20th century. White revolution followed the green revolution. Question 12. What is the importance of animal husbandry in India? Answer. Farm animals form an important ecosystem in an agriculture country like India. Farm animals are the partners of the farmers. Ox, he-buffalo and camel are used as draught animals in performing activities like plowing, sowing, thrashing and transporting farm products. Cows and she-buffalo provide them milk. Question 13. Describe the distribution of rice cultivation in India. Answer. Rice is one of the major food crop in India. India is second largest producer of rice in the world after China. It is grown on about 1/4 of the total cropped area and provides food to about half of the country's population. Rice is a tropical plant. It requires high temperature of about 40 C with minor variation during sowing and harvesting. It requires 100 centimeters of rain. It is grown in Punjab, Haryana and western Uttar Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh, Orissa, western and eastern coastal strips, Brahmaputra Valley and Jammu and Kashmir. Question 14. How is it possible to grow rice in areas of less rain, like Punjab, Haryana and Rajasthan? Answer. Development of canal irrigation and tube wells have made possible to grow rice in Punjab, Haryana and Rajasthan. Question 15. Mention some industries based on agricultural raw materials. Answer. Tea, coffee, sugar and cotton industries. Question 16. What is the PDS program of the Government of India? Answer. It is a program that provides food grains and other essential commodities at subsidized prices in rural and urban areas. Question 17. Mention one reason for big zamindars to offer Vadodar Gordon. Answer. Many offer due to the fear of Land Ceiling Act. Question 18. Name the movement started by Vinoba Bhave, known as Bloodless Revolution. Answer. The Bhudan, Brahman movements started by Vinoba Bhave are known as Bloodless Revolution. Question 19. What are the two important beverage crops of India? Answer. They are coffee and tea. Question 20. What is shifting cultivation? Answer. In shifting agriculture, a piece of land is cleared, crops are grown and the patch is deserted when it loses its fertility in order to regain its fertility. Question 21. What is plantation agriculture? Answer. Agriculture for the production of tropical and subtropical crops, like bananas, coffee, cocoa, tea, cotton, palm oil, rubber, spices, sugar and sisal, is called plantation agriculture. Question 22. What is gross cultivated area? Answer. The total area on which crops are grown. It includes the area on which crops are not raised for 1 to 2 seasons. Question 23. Point out the 5 uses of jute. Why is it losing market? Answer. Uses: it is used in making gunny bags, mats, robes, yarn, carpets, and other artifacts. Due to its high cost, it is losing market to synthetic fibers, which are much cheaper and are now used for packing materials, particularly nylon. Question 24. What is the rank India holds in cotton production in the world? Name the major cotton producing state of India. Answer: 1. India ranks third in the cotton production in the world. 2. Major cotton producing states are Maharashtra, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Punjab, Haryana, and Uttar Pradesh. Question 25. What are the fiber crops of India and from where are they obtained? Answer: 1. The four major fiber crops of India are cotton, jute, hemp, and natural silk. 2. Cotton, jute, and hemp are derived from crops grown in the soil. Natural silk is obtained from the cocoons of silkworms fed on green leaves, especially mulberry. Question 26. Which variety of Indian coffee is of great demand in the world and from where was it initially brought? Where was its cultivation initially? Answer: 1. The Arabic variety of Indian coffee is in great demand in the world. 2. It was initially brought from Yemen and now produced in the country. 3. Initially it was cultivated on Baba Budhan Hills. Question 27. Give importance of groundnut as an oilseed. Name the largest groundnut producing states in India. Answer: 1. Groundnut accounts for about half of the major oilseeds produced in India. 2. The largest producer of groundnut is Andhra Pradesh. Other states are Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Gujarat, and Maharashtra. Question 28. Give the main oilseeds grown in India. Point out to 3 of their uses. Answer: the main oilseeds produced in India are groundnut, coconut, mustard, sesame, soya bean, castor seeds, cotton seeds, linseed, and seen flour. Uses: most of these are edible and used in cooking. Some of them are used as raw material in the production of soap, cosmetics, and ointments. Question 29. Why are pulses usually grown in rotation with other crops? How is it important in our diet? Answer: all pulses except arhar helps in soil fertility by fixing nitrogen from the air. That is why they are mostly grown in rotation with other crops. Role: they are a major source of protein in a vegetarian diet, and India has more number of vegetarians. Also, non-vegetarian food is expensive and most of the Indians depend on vegetarian food. Question 30. How is maj used? In which season is it grown? Describe briefly the soil, temperature required for the production of maj. Name 4 major maj producing states of India. Answer: 1. It is used as food as well as fodder. 2. It is a kharif crop, but in some states, like Bihar, it's grown in Rabi season. 3. It requires temperature between 21 C to 27 C. Grows well in alluvial soil. Question 31. How will the change in the cropping pattern affect the Indian economy? Answer: 1. Change in the cropping pattern, for example from cereals to high-value crops, will mean that India will have to import food. 2. If India imports cereals while exporting high-value commodities, it will be following successful economies like Italy, Israel, and Chile. Question 32. Why is organic farming in vogue nowadays? Answer: 1. It is much in vogue today because it is practiced without factory-made chemicals such as fertilizers and pesticides. 2. Therefore, it does not affect the environment in a negative manner. Question 33. Mention 2 reasons for the reduction of net sown area in our country. Answer: using land for non-agricultural purposes like housing, raising factories, etc. has resulted in reduction in net sown area. Question 34. The excessive use of fertilizers and water has affected the soil. Explain. Answer: excessive use of fertilizers and water has led to water logging, salinity and depletion of essential micronutrients in the soil. Question 35. Explain the term Food Corporation of India, FCI. Answer. The Food Corporation of India focuses and maintains stocks of food grains. It procures food grains from the farmers at the government-announced minimum support price, MSP. Question 36. What is the lack of food security? Answer. Food is the basic need of every living being. If any segment of our population does not have access to food, that segment suffers from lack of food security. Question 37. Write a note on Green Revolution. Answer. A term coined in late 1960s, recent developments in agriculture in our country, which have led to considerable increase in agricultural yields in certain cereals, especially wheat as a result of new seeds, application of manures and chemical fertilizers, assured water supply and use of machinery. Question 38. Why is food security is a big concern for the small farmers? Answer. 1. Free power to a certain section of farmers has encouraged them to pump groundwater and grow water-intensive crops in low rainfall areas also, like rice in Punjab and sugarcane in Maharashtra. As a result, water storage has reduced in aquifers, tube wells, and many wells has run dry, which has pushed small and marginal farmers out of cultivation. 2. Inadequate storage and marketing facilities also discourage the small farmers. Thus, they are badly affected by uncertainties of production and market. 3. They pay high prices for inputs like H.Y.V seeds, fertilizers, etc., but the bargaining power to fix prices in their favor is very less. 4. All the production reaches the market simultaneously. The higher the supply, the lower the demand. Due to all the above given reason, the food scarcity of small farmers is a big concern. Question 39. Define dry land farming. Answer. Farming without irrigation, using techniques which conserve water for the crops. Question 40. Define agricultural resources. Answer. Gifts of nature that include fertile soils, water for irrigation, favorable climatic conditions for the growth of plants. Question 41. Give 4 measures to increase agricultural production. Answer. 1. Each district and block can be made self-sufficient in food grain production if government provides proper agricultural infrastructure, that is availability of electricity, irrigation facilities, good roads, building, etc. 2. Providing loan facilities on lower interest to cultivator. 3. Encouraging latest techniques in agricultural and instead of concentrating on rice or wheat, the food crop with a better growth potential in that particular area must be encouraged. 4. Attract foreign investment in agriculture and also free trade in grains, which will not only increase agricultural production but will also create massive employment and reduce poverty in rural areas. Question 40. To mention the Government of India's efforts to modernize agriculture. Answer. 1. Establishment of Indian Council of Agricultural Research, ICAR, agricultural universities, veterinary services, and animal breeding centers. 2. Horticulture development, research and development in the field of meteorology and weather forecast, etc., have been given priority for improving India's agriculture. 3. Improvement in the rural infrastructure, the basic system the country needs in order to work properly, i.e., transport, communication, and banking system. 4. Encouragement to the care of machines and chemical fertilizers, development of high-yielding varieties of seeds. 5. The government has launched various schemes to protect and save plants from pests and diseases. 6. Development of various kinds of tools and implements like factors, harvesters, thrashers, etc. have led to increased population and time, minimize chances of wastage, fire and rain destroying the grains lying in the few fields. Question 43. Give the main objectives of food security policy of Government of India. What is the role of FCI? Answer. 1. The primary objective of India's food security policy is to ensure availability of food grains to the common people at affordable price. 2. The focus of the policy is on growth in agricultural production and on fixing the support price of wheat and rice. 3. To maintain the stocks of wheat, rice and other food grains. Organizations the FCI, that is Food Corporation of India, is responsible for procuring and stocking food grain, whereas the distribution is ensured by public distribution. Question 44. What factors have hindered the pace of agricultural development in India? Answer. 1. In spite of development of source of irrigation, most of the farmers still depend upon monsoons. 2. Farmers still depend on natural fertilizer and manures, and therefore the land does not gain fertility. 3. Indian farmers are still using outdated tools and implements and have not implemented the use of modern farming machinery. 4. They are still using traditional methods of farming and have not made use of new technique of farming, technical and institutional reforms. 5. Division of land after every generation has led to fragments, allow of the land and small holdings which have become uneconomic. Question 45. Which crop is known as golden fiber? Describe the geographical requirements for its growth and name the major states producing it. Answer. 1. Jute is known as the golden fiber. 2. Geographical requirements. A. Well-drained fertile soils in the floodplains where soils are renewed every year. B. High temperature during the time of growth. Question 46. Why is the production of pulses and all seeds still lagging behind? Answer. 1. Though the production of all seeds and pulses is rising, but the population is growing at a greater pace. 2. The production of pulses and all seeds is subject to fluctuation and market speculations. 3. They need HYV seeds for high productivity, assured irrigation and chemical fertilizers, which are costly, and India farmers cannot afford them. 4. Their support price is not attractive. Question 47. Name the major challenges faced by the Indian farmers today. Answer. 1. Though the production of all seeds and pulses is rising, but the population is growing at a greater pace. 2. The production of pulses and all seeds is subject to fluctuation and market speculations. 3. They need HYV seeds for high productivity, assured irrigation and chemical fertilizers, which are costly, and India farmers cannot afford them. 4. Their support price is not attractive. Question 48. What are the implications of growing population on Indian farming? Answer. Following are the implications of growing population on farming. 1. Almost every step has been taken to increase food production, and now there is very little scope for increasing it further. 2. India's population is increasing at an alarming rate. Whatever has been advised so far in food production would soon be neutralized by this ever-growing population. Question 49. How has agriculture contributed to the national income and employment? Answer. 1. Agriculture has been the backbone of Indian economy. It provides employment and livelihood to nearly 63% of India's population in 2001. 2. Two-thirds of India's population is engaged in agricultural activities. 3. Agriculture is a primary activity which produces most of the food that we consume. Besides food grains, it also produces raw materials for many industries. Some agricultural products like tea, coffee, spices, etc. are exported and they bring in foreign exchange for the country. Question 50. What are the three main problems faced by Indian farmers today? Answer. The problems faced by the Indian farmers are: 1. There is lack of availability of water for irrigation. 2. Most of the farmers have small holdings which are uneconomical. 3. The high-yielding variety of seeds, chemical fertilizers, insecticides, pesticides, etc. are expensive and our farmers find it difficult to purchase these. 4. The soil is losing its fertility due to soil erosion, absence of good forests. 5. Our farmers have to take heavy loans. Therefore, to pay back these, they are compelled to sell their produce at cheap rates. Question 51. Who introduced tea in India? Why do we say that tea is a labor-intensive industry? Where is it mostly produced? Name the major tea-producing states. Answer. 1. The British introduced tea to India. 2. Tea is labor-intensive industry because it requires abundant, cheap and skilled labor. 3. Tea is generally processed within the tea gardens to restore its freshness. 4. Major tea-producing states are Assam, hills of Darjeeling and Jalpaiguri districts, West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Kerala. Besides, Himachal Pradesh, Uttaranchal, Meghalaya, Andhra Pradesh and Tripura are also tea-producing states. Question 50. To mention the important millets grown in India. Which of them is the third most important crop with respect to area and production? What is the importance of millets? Give examples. Answer. 1. Jowar, bajra and ragi are the most important millets of India. 2. Jowar is the third most important crop with respect to area and production. 3. Importance. Millets have high nutritional value. For example, ragi is very rich in iron, calcium, other micronutrients, and roughage. Question 53. Give the second most important cereal crop of India. When is it grown? What is the temperature, soil, rainfall, and irrigation required for its production? Answer. 1. Wheat is the second most important cereal crop of India. 2. This is a rabi crop. It's sown in winter from October to December. 3. It requires a cool growing season and a bright sunshine at the time of ripening. 4. Requires 50 to 75 cm of annual rainfall, evenly distributed over growing seasons or irrigation facilities. Question 54. Why has Indian agriculture been transformed from subsistence to commercial farming? Answer. Before independence, Indian agriculture was mainly that of subsistence farming, but now it has changed to commercial farming. The reasons are: 1. The small and scattered land holdings have been consolidated and converted to large holding and ploughed on cooperative basis. 2. The farmers have started using modern techniques of farming and scientific methods. Also, they have started use of fertilizers and high-yielding varieties of seeds and farm machinery. 3. Irrigation methods have improved, resulting in increased soil fertility. 4. New methods of agriculture like rotation of crops, intercropping, strip cropping, multiple cropping have been adopted for better results. 5. As a result of production of wheat, rice, sugarcane, millets etc., spices, cotton, jute, tea etc. has increased many times. Due to all these reasons, Indian agriculture is shifting from subsistence to commercial farming. Question 55. Distinguish between fertilizers and manures. Answer. 1. Fertilizers generally refer to chemical fertilizers which are produced in factories. They contain chemical elements like phosphorus, potassium, and nitrogen, etc. 2. Whereas manures refers to green leaf manures, farm wastes, compost produced by storing cow dung, and farm wastes. Manures are of biological origin and are not prepared in factories. Question 56. What are the differences between intensive agriculture and extensive agriculture or farming? Answer. Intensive agriculture. 1. To obtain high yields, large capitals and laborers are applied. 2. The size of land holding is small, production per hectare is high. 3. Most of the production is consumed locally. 4. Manual labor and drought animals are mostly used. Extensive agriculture. 1. As compared, less capital and labor is applied. 2. The size of land holding is large and production per hectare is low. 3. Surplus production is sold in the market. 4. Mechanized farming is practiced. This type of farming is practiced in sparsely populated areas. Question 57. Differentiate between settled agriculture and shifting agriculture. Answer. Settled agriculture. 1. In agricultural farms, it is practiced permanently on a small or big piece of land. In this type of agriculture, size of the field is not paid much attention. 2. The land or soil is often suitable for agriculture. If not, it is made suitable by farmers by using manures to increase the fertility of land. Shifting agriculture. 1. In this type of agriculture, the place of cultivation changes after 2 to 3 crops, when there is overgrowth of grass, weeds, etc. It is left fallow to regain its fertility. 2. The land for this type of agriculture is obtained after burning bushes, etc., or after cutting down trees or bushes. The farmer does not use manure to regain the fertility of the land. Question 58. What are the cropping seasons are found in India? When are crops sown and harvested in each of these? With examples. Answer. India has 3 cropping seasons: Rabi, Kharif and Zaid. A. Rabi crops are sown in winter from October to December and harvested in summer from April to June. Some of the important crops are wheat, barley, mustard, peas, grass. B. Kharif crops are grown with the outset of monsoons and harvested in September, October. Important crops are paddy, maj, jowar, bajra, tur, moong, urad, cotton, jute, ground nut, soya bean. C. Zaid crops are grown between Rabi and Kharif. There is a short season during summer known as Zaid season. Important crops are watermelon, muskmelon, cucumber, vegetables and fodder crops. Sugarcane takes almost a year to grow. Question 59. Define plantation farming. What are its main characteristics? Name any 5 plantation crops of India. Answer. Plantation farming is a bush or tree farming. In this type of farming, a single crop is grown on a large area. Characteristics. This type of agriculture is found in 1. Hilly areas or North India, Sub-Himalayas, W. Bengal, Nilgiris, Andaman and Cardamom Hills. 2. The plantation has an interface of agriculture and industry. 3. Covers large areas of land. 4. It is capital intensive, i.e. it requires expensive inputs, requires skilled laborers. 5. All the production is used as raw material in respective industries. The important crops are tea, coffee, banana, sugarcane, etc. Question 60. Give the characteristics of commercial farming. Answer. In this, farmers clear a patch of land and produce cereals and other crops to sustain their family. When the soil loses its fertility, the farmers shift and clear a fresh patch of land for cultivation. Nature replenishes the fertility of soil through natural processes. Land productivity in this type of agriculture is low because the farmers do not use fertilizers or other modern inputs. It is generally known as shifting agriculture, but also known in different names in different parts of the country. Question 61. What is slash and burn agriculture? Answer. 1. Use of higher doses of modern inputs, that is high-yielding variety, HYV, seeds, chemical fertilizers, insecticides, and pesticides in order to obtain higher productivity. 2. Agriculture goods are mainly produced for sale. 3. The main crops are rice, millets, spices, cotton, etc. The farmer can sell them on commercial lines. 4. The degree of commercialization varies from one region to another. For example, rice is a commercial crop in Haryana and Punjab, but in Orissa, it is subsistence farming. Question 60. To define subsistence farming and give its main characteristics. Answer. refers to an agricultural system where crops are produced for self-use or for circulation within the social networks for ritual, ceremonial exchange purposes, and some food may be sold in the market. Characteristics: A. Small scattered land holding. B. Primitive tools. C. Farmers being poor do not use fertilizers and high-yielding quality seeds as per requirement. Facilities like electricity, irrigation, generally is not available to farmers. D. It has given way to commercial agriculture to some extent. Question 63. What are the different types of farming agriculture practiced in India? Answer. 1. Primitive subsistence farming, known by different name in different parts of India, subdivided into shifting agriculture. 2. Intensive subsistence farming practiced in areas of high population pressure. It is labor-intensive. 3. Commercial farming includes plantation farming. Question 64. Describe the geographical conditions required for the growth of rice. Answer. It is a kharif crop, which requires 1. High temperature, above 15 C and high humidity. 2. Rainfall, annual rainfall above 100 cm. In areas of less rainfall, it grows with the help of irrigation. 3. Plains of North and Northeastern India, coastal areas and deltaic regions are suitable for the growth of rice. Question 65. What type of soil is suited for cultivation of tea? Answer. Deep, fertile, well-drained soil rich in humus and organic matter is suited for cultivation of tea. Question 66. Mention two characteristics of commercial farming. Answer. High doses of fertilizers and pesticides are used in commercial farming. Question 67. Which price is announced by the government in support of a crop? Answer. Minimum support price is announced by the government in support of a crop. Question 68. Name 4 major wheat-producing states in India. Answer. Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh are the 4 major wheat-producing states in India. Question 69. How have technological and institutional reforms been able to improve the conditions of Indian farmers? Answer. The zamindari system, in which property rights are vested on absentee landlords, was abolished after India became independent. Ownership rights were transferred to the actual tillers of the land. The new land owners made improvements on their lands. This led to increase in yields. Land Ceiling Acts were passed to ensure that no person could hold agricultural land beyond a specified limit. The excess land was distributed among the landless laborers. Small land holdings scattered over various places were consolidated through the Consolidation of Holdings Acts passed by the state legislatures. This resulted in farmers being able to fence their lands, sink wells, and use modern agricultural machinery. Formation of cooperative societies helped farmers get seeds, pesticides, and fertilizers at economical prices. All these helped improve the condition of the Indian farmers. Question 70. What is the importance of agriculture on Indian economy? Name 3 features of Indian agriculture. Answer. 1. India is an agricultural country. 2. Nearly 2/3 of its population depends directly on agriculture for its livelihood. 3. Agriculture is the mainstay of India's economy. 4. It accounts for 26% of the gross domestic product. 5. It ensures food security for the country and produces several raw materials for industries. 6. Agricultural development is therefore a precondition of our national prosperity. Features: 1. Farmers own small piece of land and grow crops primarily for their own consumption. 2. Animals play a significant role in the various kinds of agricultural activities. 3. Farmers depend mainly upon monsoon rains. Question 71. Describe various technological and institutional reforms which led to green and white revolutions in India. Answer. The various technological and institutional reforms consist of various measures taken by the central and state governments from time to time. Flooding of fields with water is now being replaced by drip irrigation and the use of sprinklers. Chemical fertilizers are being used on a large scale to increase the farm yields. Biofertilizers are now supplementing them. High-yielding and early maturing quality seeds have been developed. Most of these technology inputs gave birth to Green Revolution in 60s and 70s of 20th century. White Revolution followed the Green Revolution. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this content. If you found it valuable, please consider giving it a like and sharing it with others. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button on my YouTube channel to stay updated on future content. Your support means a lot to me. Thank you.